welcome back to our family channel. Today is Tasty Tuesday. Tuesdays normally mean that we go to school, we go to our community, we go to our co-op. We are part of Classical Conversations, and so every single Tuesday people from the surrounding area who are part of this meet up and do community together, which is awesome, especially for if you're first time homeschooling. Meeting up with a community or a co-op, it's just extremely beneficial. You have a bunch of different people who are doing the same thing that you are, and it's really good to bounce ideas off of each other and talk about different types of curriculum. Every single person does their own thing at home. I can see your finger. So every single person who's part of the community or your co-op will be doing curriculums at home, but they might do something completely different than you, which is why it's really fun to just talk about what they do versus what you do, just to get a feel for different types of homeschooling styles and different curriculums. I actually was very interested in a different curriculum for math than what I use right now. Instead of buying it, I was able to find somebody who's part of my community, ask if I can borrow it. Gladly said yes, hold on to it for the week, bring it back next week, and it'll be fine. And so that week I was able to look through the curriculum and realize that it just really was not for me or for my child. We are on our way to our community right now, and I just wanted to talk about what Classical Conversations is, what a typical day for a Classical Conversation looks like. I know when I was interested in joining Classical Conversations, the director of the area that I would be going to said, come and meet up with us at this coffee shop. I had to meet up with them at this coffee shop, sign the paper saying I was interested, and then they gave me a booklet that was free, and it just had all the information about what Classical Conversation is, from birth, what that looks like as a newborn, all the way up to graduating high school and what that looks like. So coming into that was a lot of information to process, to understand. It was completely new to me, and people who are in it get so used to just the terms for each thing and get used to what each part of Classical Conversations is, that they can breeze right through a lot of information that might be critical to you. So I thought it would be fun to just talk about foundations and only foundations. So if you are joining and you have any kids from newborn to, I think it's 4th grade, I'm going to be talking about foundations after school, after our community today. And yeah, if you have any questions about Classical Conversations or what we do after you've watched that portion of the video, leave a comment down below, and I would love to chat with you about what that Classical Conversation looks like or answer your questions. Honestly, every single community is going to be a little bit different because of all the people who are part of your community. So it's specifically tailored to your area. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Please, if you have not already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you in a moment. Hey guys, so we are home from Classical Conversations CC. Today just happened to be an open house day, so there were quite a few members, quite a few number of families who wanted to come and see what CC looked like before they decided fully, yes, this is something that I want to do, which is totally common. However, I was not one of those families who was able to go to an open house because I found out in the middle of summer I wasn't able to go and see what it actually looked like, signed up and joined, didn't know what I was getting myself into. That's why I wanted to make this today for you. So This is the Classical Conversations Foundation's notebook that every single family who joins Classical Conversations is required to have. I'm pretty sure this is the only thing that is required besides filling out the paperwork and paying to join the community. This has everything in it that will explain what Foundations is, what Classical Conversations is, who started it, what they stand for, their beliefs, which is really intriguing and interesting when you are new to CC. When you are part of CC, you don't really look at this at all. With Classical Conversations, there are 3 cycles. We are currently on cycle 2. So next year we will be on cycle 3. The year after that would be cycle 1. And it just keeps on rotating. Each year it'll be the next and the next. So by the time that they are getting to the challenge, which is the high school age, they've been through each cycle many times. In each cycle, they have the same subjects. So there is math, Latin, science, history, timeline, geography, English, and then later on, outside of the memory work, they always do art and science. There's also presentation and review. So during the day, our board will look like this, what is behind me. This week, I think we were on week 18. So I come into my notebook, I find cycle 2, and I go to week 18. This is what my week will look like. This is what I use for the week. I don't use anything else for CC. I just use this. And a lot of times I don't look at this. I just use the music, and you can find the music on CDs, like buy them from their website. You can find it on iTunes. I'm not sure where else you can find it. I know that a lot of people put the music on YouTube to do hand motions to it, but all of this is the memory work. So if this is our board, let's start with geography. I have geography right down here. A lot of the maps will look like this. This is actually in your notebook, your Classical Conversation notebook. You'll have those maps in there, so you don't need to buy anything extra. But they do have maps that are bigger if you would prefer that. So for geography, today was Central European countries. So they did Italy, Austria, Hungary, Czechia, and Slovakia. Actually, I think that might have been last week. This week might have been week 19. So they did Southeastern Asia, North Korea, South Korea, Taiwan, Philippines, Guam. And so they pull out their map, which those are not on the Europe one. They would pull out the map that they have, and they would go over that information. They would talk about, okay, these are the Southeastern Asia countries. This is where they are. And there's a tutor in each class, and that tutor would be making it fun and engaging for the appropriate age group of the people who your child will be in their class. And so last year I was a tutor for 4 and 5-year-olds, and so I brought little chocolate chips, and I go over it and I say, okay, where is North Korea? Can you point to North Korea? And then they would point to North Korea. And I'd say, where's South Korea? They would take their pointer fingers and show me where South Korea is. And if they don't know where it's at, that's totally fine. The tutor will show them where it is and say, just put your finger on it. That is South Korea. We're teaching them where the geography is. And we go through, the whole goal is to go through and to say the facts 7 times. So the kids hear it 7 different times. And so one of it might be with an expo marker, put a dot on it. The next time might be erase it. The next time might be sing its name, something fun. Once they've done that, they get their chocolate chip. We move on. We're good to go. There are a lot of songs that go with memory work. There are a lot of hand motions that go with memory work. So that's just one thing that we would do for geography. We'd say it 7 times. We'd be done for the week. Check mark, erased off the board. Let's move on. Timeline. There is a timeline song. And if you're curious what the timeline song is and you don't want to purchase it, you can find it on YouTube. Just type in CC timeline and there will be a lot of YouTube videos that will pop up that have all of the hand motions with it. It is something that they do every single year, repeat it. And so the first year it might be really confusing for you as to all of the hand motions with a certain timeline fact in the chronological order that it happens. But it's so cool because it starts from beginning of creation all the way to present day, and your children is learning all of the important facts. And it sounds like a lot, but every week it's just part of the song. They do the hand motions that go with it. And this is our 2nd year in CC and my kids know it. They'll just be singing it randomly. I don't know how. I didn't make them learn it. I just play the song and they pick it up, and it's a lot of fun for them. So during timeline, as a tutor, I would sit down and I'd have the names on the board. I'd have maybe cards on the board. And today they did Lincoln's War between the states, Reconstruction of the Southern States, Dominion of Canada, Otto von Bismarck unifies Germany, Boer Wars in Africa, the Spanish-American War, the Progressive Era. And all of these are part of the song, and each one of those has a hand motion, which I don't know off the top of my head. And so I would say Lincoln's War between the states. And so you would say it in a certain way. Wars might look like this. And you would teach the sign language for each of the facts to the kids, make sure that they know the hand motions. And then you would do it for the next fact and the next fact and the next fact until they've gone through all of the facts for timeline that day. And then you might play the timeline song for that section so they could go and sing and do the hand motions to the song. And you're doing that 7 times. Okay? Are you catching my drift? Each fact, one of these subjects, you say the facts 7 times. All of this is called new grammar. New grammar lasts for 30 minutes and that's it. You're not going into detail about the facts. You're not saying why it's important, which is really hard for me. I'm someone who I want to tell you why this fact is important. Or if I've been somewhere, like let's say I've been to Guam, I'll be, oh, I've been there, and then I want to talk and explain more about Guam. You don't do that in new grammar. In new grammar, you're strictly going over all of the facts 7 times. Okay, so we just did timeline. Check, mark it off, erase it. We're moving on to the next subject. All right, so all of these subjects are in your book. All right, you're going over all of the subjects 7 times in new grammar. New grammar is 30 minutes long. Okay, so if we start in CC with our opening assembly, that means that we gather together around 9:10, 9:15. And all of the classes go and they sit in individual tables. So my daughter's class is the 4, 5, 6-year-olds. She goes and sits at that table with the rest of the people in her class. And then there's the next class up and they do the same thing and so forth. And then while we are at opening assembly, we will go over announcements if anything's happening that week, if there are any birthdays, if we're doing a field trip, if we're doing a mom's night out or a kid's day out. We'll go over the information that we need to go over. Then everybody will stand up and we'll have people in the front with a Bible and a flag, and we'll say the pledge to the Bible and we'll say the pledge to the flag, and then we'll sit down and we will pray for our day, and we will sit down, we will pray for our day, and then we have a song or a memory verse that we are working to remember as a community. And so right now we're working on memorizing the beginning of Genesis. And so there's this wonderful song, and they sing it each week. And then when they're done, then they're dismissed to their certain classes. Okay? Dismissed to their classes at 9:30. For our community, from 9:30 to 10 is about the allotted time that they have to go over all the new grammar, which is all of the memory work that they have on the board. And then after that, we take a break. Okay, so from 10 to 10:30, we have presentations. Presentations is where every single student will bring an item, will bring a book, will bring a presentation that they have created to share with the other classmates. So for example, my daughter this week is really into making pink lemonade. She's never had this before. She got one of the Crystal Light droppers where you open up a water bottle, you put it over and you squeeze, just one squeeze, put the lid back on, shake it, and you have flavored pink lemonade water. And she loves it. So she brought that with her this week for show and tell, for presentation. She gets up there, she says, "Hi, my name is Cora, and I'm gonna be telling you how to make pink lemonade today." And then after she says what she's gonna be doing, she's gonna tell you 3 facts about what she brought. And so in this case, she's telling the class 3 steps that she takes in order to make pink lemonade. And then when she's all done explaining about her presentation, she says, "Are there any questions?" And then the classmates will raise their hand, and it's her job to call their name and say, "Yeah, what's your question?" A lot of that may seem like a lot for a 4-year-old, because really it is. They're still getting into the swing of being in a classroom setting, figuring out, okay, do I talk? Am I shy? Am I loud? You know, and that's okay. They'll learn. That's what's great about being part of the CC community, is that the parents are understanding, they're encouraging, they don't say negative things. If they try to be positive and give positive affirmation, or instead of saying negative things, say, "I like the way you did that. Maybe next time you can try and add 1 more fact." Like if they only say 2 facts, or if they did a great job presenting, but they were really, really quiet and they had a really hard time hearing them, you could say, "That was so well done. Maybe next time you can work on your volume, your voice volume," you know? And while the person is presenting, everybody who is sitting down is eating snack. It's never fun to have somebody who's hungry in your class. And so eating snack just gives them a little bit more energy to boost them till lunchtime. At 10:30, you're done with snack. You have some time, put those away. Oh, also during presentation is the time to go to the bathroom. You can go as a group right before, or you might go one by one. Our group goes one by one because we have a bathroom in our classroom. It's very convenient. So we go to the bathroom during presentation, do presentation, eat snack, all from that 10 to 10:30 time. Take a deep breath. It goes really fast, but it's really fun. Next, you have one of 2 options: a 30-minute chunk of art or a 30-minute chunk of science. And it really just depends on what the tutor wants to do first, and it depends on what you're doing for those things. Some days we'll do art first because we have paintings that need to dry. Sometimes we'll do science first because we have to let something sit a little bit longer before we can see if there was a reaction to something that we did. During the first block of time, 10:30 to 11, we'll say that we're going to do art. We learn about certain artists. So today we went over composers and orchestra and it being introduced, and what the classical and romantic periods looked like. And so my daughter told me we listened to music today during this art time. And she was telling me all about the music, which was really fun to hear because this is not a type of music that I would just put on my radio or my record player. So they're being introduced to that type of art. And then from 11 to 11:30, they would do science. Today they made airplanes. They made different airplanes and talked about, they always go over the scientific method and what it is and what each step of it is. And that's the main goal right now for 4 and 5-year-olds in foundations. For the other older kids, they might go more into depth. But for foundations, they're just focusing on the scientific method and what it is and how the process goes. So there's a song that they sing in their class that goes over all of them. And then after they sing the song, they talk about, okay, what do you think is going to happen? This is what we're doing today. Let's make a hypothesis. Let's go over our analysis when all of this is done. What actually happened? And that's what we do for science. Art and science are really fun, and they're a little bit slower pace than new grammar and presentation. And then after all of that, you have a 30-minute chunk of review. And so in that time of review, you're not going over art and science, what we just did, and you're not going over presentations, you're just going over new grammar, which is what you did at the very beginning. Brings us back to the board. So for a review, for new grammar, you're going over this, but you're going over it in a fun way. You're not saying it 7 times through this time. You might be playing a game. So for Valentine's Day this year, we had a gal who was teaching the class, and she had cut out, or maybe the tutor had cut out and given to her, little hearts. And they were all pink, red, and just different colors. And then she had laid them all out in a grid. And so when it was one of the girls' turns, they go individually. They went and they picked out a heart. They would flip it over and then they would leave it up. It'd say what week and what subject. They would come to your notebook. You'd find the week. You'd find the subject. And you'd say, let's say that we picked week 15, math. The tutor would say, okay, can you tell me about the metric measurements? And then the student, most of the time the 4 and 5-year-olds have a harder time remembering this one. This one's kind of hard. But if they did know it, they'd say the metric measurements are, and then they'd say the fact, 10 millimeters equals 1 centimeter. 100 centimeters equals 1 meter. 1,000 meters equals 1 kilometer. And then they'd be done. And the tutor would reward them with positive affirmation or with something that can work towards earning them a prize at the end of review. And then the next girl would go up, they'd pick another heart. Okay, flip that over. Which one did you get this week? Oh, I got week 9, Latin. And so then the tutor would prompt them and they'd say, okay, Latin week 9. What are the first conjugation endings? Pluperfect tense. And then the girls would go over it, or the boys would go over it, and they'd say, let's see, I actually don't know that song, but let's see if I were to go. First conjugation, let's say it's week 3, Latin. First conjugation endings imperfect tense. So there's a song that goes with that. So if one of the girls comes up or one of the boys comes up and they would say, oh, I know that. They would say, bombas but, bombas batis bunt, bombas but, bombas batis bunt. First conjugation, imperfect tense, and then that they would be done, and they go back to their seat, and that just keeps on repeating and repeating until it is 12 o'clock noon. If some kids really enjoy the review game will go from 11:30 to 12. Sometimes the review game is not as big of a hit, and so we'll change it up and do it half of the time, and then we'll do something else for the other half of the time. But no matter what, from 11:30 to 12 o'clock noon, you're doing review of the new grammar. Not only of what happened that week, but from all the week prior. So this was week 19, and so they would be reviewing everything from cycle 2, week 1 through 19. Then after review is over, all of the students go and get their backpacks, their water bottles, and their stuff for presentation, and they go back out to where you had an opening assembly. At opening assembly, they had those individual tables where they were sitting. They go back to their table group for their class, and that's where they have lunch. For our specific CC group, our group has lunch, and they have to be seated at their tables from 12 to 12:20, making sure that they actually eat their lunch. At 12:20, they are excused only if they've eaten enough from their parents. Like the parent says, like, they've eaten enough. They've cleaned up their spot, pushed in their chair, and their parent has said, yes, you may go and play. Then, and only then, do they get to go and play. And play can be anything from inside play or outside play. If it's nice weather, most of the kids always go outside and they play. And they play until 1 o'clock, because at 1 o'clock is when the essentials starts. I'm not going to go into essentials today because honestly, I don't have kids in essential, and I am not the best person to tell you about what happens in essentials. I could read the book, but I wouldn't be able to fully give you my personal view or tell you how it's done. So this is what a CC Foundations Day looks like. I hope that I've answered any of your questions or just made it so that it wasn't confusing to you what a Classical Conversations Day looks like. But please, if you have any questions about what goes on during CC, during the day for Foundations, leave a comment down below and I would love to get back to you and explain it to you. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and make sure you're subscribed for future videos. Bye guys.